Welcome back to this week's edition of the Softball Insider with Nevada head coach Matt Meuchel. Appreciate you joining us again this week, Coach. Looking back at the WAC opening series last weekend against Fresno State, you get 1 out of 3 from Fresno State. You saw some encouraging signs though from your club, especially offensively. Some good run production over the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like it's the best we've played all season. It's still not exactly where we need to be and where we want to be, but it feels like we're starting to take some strides in the right direction, and especially at the plate. We got pretty good defense all weekend long, got some spotty pitching, but more so than anything, I think the thing that's been remiss that we haven't had at any point this season is just the production that we're expected to have at the plate. I mean, we've been scoring runs, but really not swinging it the way we want to, and I felt like we really hit a great pitching staff all weekend long.
And you look at some of your freshmen coming through with some clutch hits. Lauren Lestrap's getting her first collegiate home run. And then the one player that's been just getting it done for you day in, day out right now, Noel Mikas, career-long 20-game hitting streak right now for Noe. It's tied for the longest hitting streak in school history. Talk a little bit about what she's done for you.
Well, she's really just started to settle in. I think she felt a little bit of pressure early in the year, having to feel like she had to produce every at-bat, and really she's kind of gone away from that sort of mentality and just understood that she's one person in the lineup, that she can only take care of her at-bats, and when she does that, she's so gifted as far as just having some of the hand-eye coordination that she's been blessed with, and just the natural hitter she is, that when she takes her at-bats, one at-bat at a time, does what she can do, then you're seeing the byproduct of it now, and probably in the last 20 games, certainly she's hitting, well in the 400 range, whereas in the first 8 games, she probably hit, maybe 200 or lower. So you're just seeing somebody that's really locked in at this point, having a hard time getting people out. She's got a ton of confidence, as well as everybody else, that every at-bat she's going to have is going to be a high-quality one. She's going to produce something in some form, whether it be an extra base hit, an RBI, start off an inning, whatever it may be. And really, her production has been benefited by what Courtney Wiley's been able to do out in front of her in the 9-hole. Certainly having her lead us in hitting currently at this point, her runs scored are really dictated by Noel's ability to be able to go off at this point.
And then moving forward, I guess you'll want to see the consistent production, throughout the lineup, and obviously Danielle Patrick's had some good runs this year, and Sam Bias has had some good spurts this year, along with Britt Murdoch. It's kind of like that 6, 7, 8 spots where you're getting the spotty production, and as you talked about this weekend, we're starting to see more production out of that part of the lineup.
Yeah, I think that was the most encouraging thing out of the Fresno State weekend, is we saw better production from 5 through 8, whereas in the past we've pretty much been relying on our production from 9 through 4. And we got a little bit less production than we would have liked to out of Bias and Murdoch on the weekend, but I mean, that's to be expected. They're not going to be the top of their game every weekend, and certainly Noel had a fantastic weekend. Danielle hit it pretty well, but like I said, we got great production out of Kelsey. I think Kelsey's starting to settle in. You're starting to see her swing it the way that she's done all of her career, and then the freshmen that really reside in that 6, 7, and 8 hole are starting to give us more consistent at-bats. Really are starting to settle in, understand what it takes to compete at this level at the plate, and giving us good at-bats in a really tough series against Fresno State.
Let's look ahead to this weekend, and perhaps one of the more challenging weeks for a couple different reasons on tap. A bus trip over to Ogden, Utah and Logan, Utah, 2 games scheduled for Thursday against Weber State, and then a weekend WAC series at Utah State. And I imagine you're probably kind of interested to see how your team handles this trip. There's some weather issues possibly on tap, and like we said, a long bus ride, and a lot of different things that they're going to have to deal with as you go through this week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's 5 games that we're fully capable of winning if we play well, but additionally, it's 5 games that you're capable of dropping a couple games in there if you don't play well. And like you said, coupled with the long bus trip and making that trip today, and playing 2 extra games over the course of the weekend with the conference series, and the elements of the weather, it's certainly going to test what we've got at this point. I feel really comfortable with just where we're at as far as our confidence level as a team, our ability to kind of feel like we're playing better ball and getting better week to week at this point. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the opportunity to get out there and play again. Certainly we're a little bit concerned about what the weather's going to bring our way, but I mean, at this point we've played, it's March and we haven't played really in any warm weather besides maybe the first weekend. So we're kind of used to playing in the elements, and we'll play in whatever they throw at us.
And you look at a Weber State team that you've obviously seen already this year, and after that, a Utah State team that is certainly, record-wise and on paper playing a lot better softball than maybe in the past couple of years have come out of Logan, Utah, and no more clearly evident than they beat the Washington Huskies this year, the #1 team in the country, defending national champion.
Yeah.
If you could beat Daniel Laurie and the Huskies, you're doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a new coaching staff there in Logan, and really have been playing considerably better. I think they probably have more wins at this point in their season than they've had maybe even in the last 2 years combined along the way. So it's a situation, we got a chance to see them play at the same site as us in Sacramento, and you can see the improvement in their game. They play with a lot more confidence, play with a little bit quicker pace, which is going to make it challenging for us. They're a team that last year we put away, but it took us a little while to put them away. And when you're in conference and you're playing for conference wins and in a conference series, it doesn't matter really who you're playing, whether you're playing Fresno State or Utah State from week to week. It's going to be pretty challenging for you to be able to score runs and for you to be able to keep them down. And it's going to be a real aggressive series, I can tell you that.
And overall, as we've talked about this entire season, if anybody thinks that the WAC is a pushover league or a clear-cut league, they better think again. And I think the first weekend of the WAC play this past weekend showed that with a Boise State doing what they did to New Mexico State.
Yeah, it's a lot of parity within the first week. You saw Utah State really should have went down to Ruston and taken 2 out of 3 from La Tech. They're an out away from winning 2 of those 3 ball games. Give up a walk-up home run in the 7th to lose 1, but they took 1 out of 3, and then, like you said, New Mexico State, who is a very traditionally strong team, went to Boise and got swept by Boise State, who had been struggling. I mean, in a second year, I think they kind of had a little bit of that second-year hangover a little bit towards the beginning of the season, started to play a little bit better, but certainly an eye-opening series sweep against New Mexico State, and really another competitive series in Hawaii. I know Hawaii took 3 games from San Jose State, but had to go 10 in one of the games, and pretty competitive San Jose State team this year.
Yeah, it's clear that week in, week out, throughout the conference this year, there's going to be some great softball games played during the course of this season. Looking forward beyond this weekend, you come back home next weekend, and the schedule, it seems like it shapes out pretty well for you through the rest of the regular season.
It does. I mean, we definitely, you can't control who you play and when you play them, but we definitely feel like we've got a pretty good draw schedule-wise at this point. We're never on the road for 2 consecutive weeks. Because of the scheduling makeup, we are one of the 4 teams that has 4 home series in conference and 3 road series this year, and flops every other year. So, and then additionally on top of that, anytime you can get Fresno and Hawaii at home in the same year, that's certainly an advantage. And to lose that Fresno State series at home is a little bit disappointing, but at this point, we talked about with the team that any game that you can salvage or any game you can win or not give away in the end, maybe with one game that decides it down the stretch. And so certainly Game 2 was a little bit frustrating. I felt like if we could have got Game 2, then Game 3 would have won the series for us. But at that point, when you lose a disappointing Game 2, then you certainly could have just kind of given away Game 3, and we didn't do that. So at this point, we like the way the schedule breaks down, and we like the way we, the balance we've got, a little bit of home and away. We don't necessarily go, Fresno and Hawaii on consecutive weeks type of thing. So, I mean, it works out well for us, but at this point, whether your schedule's good or bad, you got to play games and win games.
And we'll talk about it as we get closer to it, but playing at New Mexico State, where the conference tournament is later this year, will be a benefit for your program as well. Going into this weekend's play, how's the overall health of the team?
It's probably as healthy as we've been. We're a real thin unit as far as our depth, just in sheer numbers go, so it's certainly a concern for us. We end up taking a few more days off here and there just to stay healthy. The pitching staff's been a little bit banged up, but this is as good as they felt. So, I mean, I think that you'll see that in their performance, and then additionally, battling with trying to get Pusey back in. She's at the point where she probably might be able to start playing some defense for us. And really, top to bottom, this is about as healthy as I think we've been at this point. So knock on wood, and we can stay there.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us again. We'll look forward to the long road trip here to Utah State coming up this week. And thank you for joining us as well. We'll be back with another episode of Softball Insider very soon. Thank you.